Most of the videos on this channel are about design and 3D printing. This video is a throwback to before I made my very first 3D print. I wanted to do a little something different for my 9,000 subscriber special. Thanks to all of you for your support. 7 years ago, I did a crowdfunding campaign for these lamps. Hiring a pro to produce the video was not in the budget. Practically the whole thing was shot in my apartment on nights and weekends. To make the video more professional, I decided to make a DIY camera slider. This is in 2014, well before these were available for under $3,000. I had a $30 budget that went entirely into a retro skateboard. The rest of the components were cobbled together from lamp parts and electronics junk from the 1980s. I'm getting close to launching a new desktop product with the help of a few friends. I filmed a video series on making it that will go live next week. We're confident it's the best content that this channel has seen yet. You should back us on Patreon now because we're hoping 1 million people will watch the upcoming series, and you will totally get credit for it if you back us this week. Until then, we'll go back to a time when I had to be more resourceful. The camera car runs on my circular saw track with the help of some C-channel. To help it slide, Teflon fabric was stuck to the inside. So far, so good. The drive motor for this came from an old VCR. The bearing that the turntable sits on is also a VCR part. The screws from these units are still laying around my shop. A Spur Gear was also in the collection. There were 2 ways to use the camera truck. This was the turntable component. The second was a drivetrain for the skateboard. This motor from an old drafting table was too powerful for this use, but the gears were nice. These just happened to fit on the axle with some bearings to match. Looking back at this, it's easy to see how amazing 3D printers are. Rather than just printing a finished part, I had to rely on a box of random items that would only fit together with luck. Here's the motor bracket. This is the first thing I made on a milling machine. The same motor from the turntable attached like so. It would need a drive shaft and a handle bolt from a broken lawnmower. This assembly was designed to allow for some adjustment on the belt drive. I won't say that it's the best looking camera truck I've ever seen, but it is the strangest. A rejected lamp base and an old drill guide would make up the base for the camera mount. Another first for me was tapping holes. These allow the drill guide to be moved forward or backwards to keep the camera's center of gravity directly over the skateboard. In order to make the camera target a point in the room, I had to get creative. Some tubes would attach the turntable and the camera truck to a weighted pivot. A few springs held the tube and allowed it to slide. It was a sight to behold. Rudimentary wiring and all. The turntable worked, but clearly wasn't going to be useful for anything, so I brought the camera truck back to the apartment for a trial run. I rented the best camera I could afford, and it paid off. Some of these lamps were over $500, and I tried to make my place feel more luxury. I fell a bit short on that, but the resulting video was good enough to sell 50 of these lamps. With the turntable rod, I managed to get the best shot of the whole promo. The lamps were hard to shoot because they are bright and colorful and look best in a dark room. These things were not easy for a budget camera to capture. Lighting was also a new concept for me at the time. With the new product, I really stepped up my game. As I mentioned, the first video in this series drops next week. It was 6 months in the making, and it's the most interesting content this channel has offered yet. If you want to back us on Patreon in the next few days, you will be able to see your name at the end of those videos. Thanks to each and every one of my 9,000 subs that help keep me motivated and making content. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment for the algorithm if you please.